This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. Hey, and welcome back to another edition of This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. You can find more info and more podcasts at sportshistorynetwork.com. It's September 24th, and on this day in 1994, a Hail Mary was lifted to the sky and answered in the end zone of the Big House. Okay, I just realized something, and if I still have any Michigan football fans listening to this podcast, just let me say I'm sorry. It probably feels like I'm piling on the misery with the September 1st edition and the September 16th edition, and now with today's stories leading off with, Michigan suffering another shocking loss. I can understand if you want to throw a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct. I am not intentionally trying to cause you heartache. I will try to rectify the situation in the future. So, if you need to skip ahead or skip the day altogether, that's understandable. But this was a matchup of 2-0 and 7th-ranked Colorado playing the number 4 Michigan Wolverines, who were also 2-0 at this point in the season. Colorado took the early advantage after Cordell Stewart hit Michael Westbrook on a 27-yard touchdown with 7:54 remaining in the first half. The Wolverines scored 23 unanswered over the next 2 quarters to retake the lead and carry a 26-14 lead into the final quarter. Things appeared all but lost when Cordell coughed up the football on the goal line with 5 minutes left and still trailing by 2 scores. But a quick 3-and-out gave the ball back to the Buffaloes with 3:52 left. Colorado drove down the field, and Rashaan Salaam scored from a yard out to make it a 5-point game. Michigan recovered the ensuing onside kick, and all they really needed to do was just get 1 first down. But they didn't. The Buffs stuffed them, forcing Michigan to punt it away with 21 seconds left. A fair catch at the 15, and 7 more seconds were gone. Down 5, 14 seconds left, Colorado needed to go 85 yards to win it. A 21-yard connection to Westbrook caused the clock to stop momentarily to move the chains, and then Stewart spiked the ball to stop the clock with 6 seconds left and set up the final play. Here's Keith Jackson with a call for ABC that day.
3 wideouts at the top of the picture. Stewart with time. Lets it go. He's got 3 people down there. The ball's up in the air. Caught! Touchdown! Caught by Westbrook for a touchdown! There are no flags on the field. Only despair for the maize and blues. Joy and exultation for the Buffaloes of Colorado.
The play was called Jets Rocket Victory, which all seems pretty logical. In essence, everybody go long, Cordell will launch it, and we win the game. Stewart's pass was impressive. He backpedaled to the 26 and launched it to the goal line. That's 74 yards in the air. There were 6 Michigan defenders covering 3 Colorado receivers. Free safety Chuck Winters got a hand on it, but only managed to pop it up in the air for Westbrook to reel it in. The play became known as the Miracle at Michigan and was named Play of the Year for the 1994 season. Colorado bumped up to 5th after the win, while Michigan dropped to 7th. It is interesting to note Colorado attempted this same play to win the first half, and that one was intercepted by Winters. On this day in 1972, it was an NFL game that many consider to be one of the greatest displays of offense in the history of the game. This was a Week 2 matchup between the Baltimore Colts and the New York Jets. Though their paths had crossed in earlier seasons, this was the first game that Joe Namath and Johnny Unitas played a full game against each other. But it really wasn't supposed to be that way. The Colts had turned to 28-year-old journeyman QB Tim Van Galder to lead them in 72, but he was injured in the opener against St. Louis, so that put 39-year-old backup QB Unitas into the game that would turn out to be quite a duel of two of the all-time greats to play quarterback in the NFL. This game was played at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, and Namath got the Battle of Gunslingers started early with a 65-yard TD pass to Eddie Bell. Unitas responded with a 40-yard bomb of his own to Sam Haverlack on a flea flicker. Namath threw 3 more touchdown passes in the second quarter, including a 67-yarder to John Riggins. At the half, it was 27-20 Jets. Namath connected with Rich Castor for a 79-yard strike to give the Jets a 37-27 lead in the fourth. Unitas answered a few minutes later with a feather-touch 21-yard TD pass to Matty to make it a 3-point game again. But Namath had one more answer, and again it was a hookup with Castor that proved to be the final shot in this showdown at the OK Corral. An 80-yard pass and catch was Namath's 6th of the day and Castor's 3rd TD reception. When the dust settled and the stats were tallied, Namath had completed 15 passes for 496 yards to go along with 6 touchdown throws. Unitas completed 26 balls for 376 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is a combined 872 yards through the air, and truly one of the great offensive showcases in NFL history. On this same day, halfway across the country in Green Bay, Oakland Raider Jack Tatum was rolling up some yards of his own. Wait a minute, I hear some old guys in the back saying, "Hey, Jack Tatum was a defensive back. How was he rolling up yards?" Well, the Packers were up 7-3 in the first quarter, and they were knocking on the door again. The Packers had an option play called, and QB Scott Hunter ran it to the right when the Raider defensive end Phil Villapiano shed his block and focused in on him. Hunter pitched it to MacArthur Lane. Lane could not find the handle on the football, and he fumbled it into the end zone. Tatum scooped it and had nothing but the green grass of Lambeau Field and daylight in front of him. Tatum had no problem outrunning the one offensive lineman who made an attempt to tackle him. He was credited with a 104-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown and spurred Oakland to the 20-14 victory over the Packers. Tatum's scoop and score broke the 49-year-old record for longest fumble recovery for a TD that had been held by former Bear George Halas's 98-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown back in 1923. Tatum's record stood alone for 38 years until Arizona Cardinal Aeneas Williams returned a fumble 104 yards against Washington in 2000. And in 1989, it was an amazing shot that helped keep the Ryder Cup in Europe for another 2 years. This edition was held in England at the Belfry, and after Saturday's afternoon 4-ball action, the Euros led by 2 points. So, heading into Sunday's singles matchups, the Americans had some ground to make up, and they did so early on, winning the first 2 matches. With Tom Kite's destruction of Howard Clark 8-7, and the Americans up in the last 4 singles matches, things were looking up for the U.S. to bring the cup back to the States. Fred Couples was matched up with Irishman Christy O'Connor, and they were all square coming to 18. The fact that O'Connor was even part of the Euro Ryder Cup team to begin with is interesting. He was a coach's choice by Tony Jacklin, but O'Connor probably would not have been on the radar even if 1988 Masters champ Sandy Lyle had decided to play. But he had told Jacklin that he was not interested in playing in the Ryder Cup, and so a spot opened up for O'Connor. So O'Connor was the 71st ranked player in the world, lowest of any of the golfers participating on either side in this one, the so-called weakest link on the team. And he stood in the fairway on 18, 229 yards away from the pin. Couples was a young buck back then, and he was long off the tee. He was well up the fairway, and he held a 9-iron in his hand. O'Connor pulled out his 2-iron, and in what is known as one of the greatest shots in Ryder Cup history, he stuck it on the green and let it roll to 4 feet from the cup. The roar around the 18th was deafening as the Euros cheered the incredible shot. Couples didn't get his shot close, and he missed the putt. And just like Nicklaus had done back in 1969, Freddie did not make O'Connor putt his. He conceded the short putt to give O'Connor the one-up win and a 13-12 lead for the Euros at that point. It finished tied at 14 apiece, and since the defending champ retains the cup in a tie, Europe held on to it for another 2 years. And there's now a plaque in the fairway at the 18th of the Belfry to commemorate what Christy O'Connor did on this day back in 1989. And time now for today's Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Before Johnny Cash became famous as a singer-songwriter and the Man in Black, he wrote a few science fiction short stories under the pseudonym Johnny Dollar. That's all I've got for you today. This and every episode of This Day in Sports History is researched, written, voiced, and produced by me, Steve White. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History.